24 days. 24 days, that's the number that you should have at the back of your mind. That is the number of time, that's the length of time it took United to, rest out of football and everything. Like, it's been a boring 24 days, basically. And it's still yet to, they were still at like maybe 21 or 20, 21, because I think the team were out for warm weather training in Europe. So in Ireland, I think. But it is what it is. 24 days, that's how long Manchester United fans have to wait, to see Michael Carrick's Red Army back in action. After a tactical training camp in Ireland, the barriers are recharged, the batteries are recharged, and the focus is actually sharpened, hopefully, and the mission is clear. Hold on to that third place or third spot. But standing in our way is a revitalized Leeds United. Dominic Farke has ditched the nice football for a gritty, direct 5-3-2 formation that has already stunned big boys this season. And is this basically the return to a dominance for United, or will Dominic Farke ball evaluate and his ball evolution, will he spoil Man United's homecoming? Now, the truth is, we're here to do a tactical breakdown to kind of analyze everything. So welcome to United Talks podcast. And this is the match preview for Man United versus Leeds. And if you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything as relates to all things Manchester United. Now, we're going to start with the head-to-head and historical context before we go to our dashboard, as we always do. It's been a while we did this, but it took some time to prepare. And I had to do some, research as to how they played. I mean, we played them before, so it's a good time to kind of understand what's going on. Now, this is called the Roses Rivalry, and it's called the Roses Rivalry for a reason, because it dates back to, long time ago, when you have the House Lancaster versus the House York fighting at war with each other, and it just continued like that. The House Lancaster is basically Lancashire or Manchester, and then House York is actually Leeds, as the case may be. Now, the Roses Rivalry actually needs no introduction. Historically, United have dominated, at Old Trafford, but since Leeds returned to the top flight, these games have become kind of like tactical wars between both teams. As much as there's been wars in the past, this is a tactical war between both teams. And we remember the 6-2 and the 5-1 trashings of years past, but this is a different Leeds that we're facing. They are no longer, the wide open teams of the Bielsa era. Under Farke, they've become more of a streetwise team. In our last few meetings, the games have actually been decided by individual moments of brilliance. Usually, you have Bruno Fernandes turning up, but with United currently third and Leeds fighting for every scrap to move up the table, the historical weight of this fixture is heavier now more than ever. Now, what do you guys think about that? Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section. Now, as we go on to actually break it down, we're going to move over to our dashboard before we talk about form guide and everything in between. Now to our dashboard, we have Leeds. Basically, in the last 5 games for both teams, just talking about head-to-head, in the last 5 games for both teams, Man United have had 3 wins, 1 draw, and 1 loss. Leeds have had 3 draws and 2 losses. Losses for them coming against Man City and Sunderland, and these are basically 0-0 losses. And in the last pretty much 5 games, Leeds have conceded 3 goals, and then they scored just 1. For Man United, in the last 5 games, with our 3 wins and 1 loss and 1 draw, we have pretty much considered maybe like 6 or 7 goals and scored around 7 or 8 goals, right? So it's pretty much like, almost even. Then in the last, with regards to head-to-head for both teams, there's been 50 wins for United, 28 wins for Leeds, 26 wins for Leeds, and 38 draws between both teams. The last game happening as a 1-1 draw, the previous one 0-0 draw, the one before that 2-0 for United, the one before that 2-0 for United, and then 5 games ago it was pretty much 2-2 for both teams. When it comes to like goals progression by minute interval, you have basically Man United scoring most of their goals in the end of first half and the end of second half, so around the 61st to the 75th minute in the first half, in the second half, and then you have 31 to 45 minutes in the first half. While for Leeds, they scored most of their goals in the beginning of first half and in the middle of second, in the beginning of the end of first half, the beginning and the middle of second half. So it's been pretty spread across, but United seem to be scoring their goals towards the end of games and middle of games. But it is what it is. Featured players include, Casemiro, who's got 9 yellow cards, but also Ethan Ampadu, who's got 7. Luke Shaw has the most minutes played, 31 games in total. And then Aronson has 30 games in total. Luke Shaw, most minutes, as I said, 26-28, 2,628, 2,628 minutes to Joe Rodon, who has 2,548. And then, obviously, with regards to the youngest player, we have Mantato versus Sam Chambers, who are both 18. And then Tom Heaton is the oldest, 40. And then Cardallo, who is 35. Man United are ranked third in the table with 31 play after 31 games, 55 points and 13 goals difference, which has been rising up for a while. And with regards to top performers this season, you have Bruno Fernandes with 16 assists and 8 goals, while Calvert-Lewin has 10 goals and 1 assist. And then Brian Bumo has 3 assists and 9 goals, while Lucas Mecha has 6 goals and 1 assist. And then Benjamin Sesko, who is next in line, has 9 goals and 1 assist. Anton Starch has 4 goals and 3 assists. And Anton Starch is one player I've been watching this last couple of weeks when Leeds have been playing. Then you go to Casemiro as well, another top performer. He has 7 goals and 2 assists, one of his highest scoring seasons as a midfielder. And then Brandon Aronson has 4 goals and 3 assists, as we have noted. So it is what it is, and we're going to keep observing and keep talking about this. Now, with regards to form guide based on individual teams, flying Michael Carrick has turned United into a 2026 juggernaut. Before the break, we were dismantling top tier oppositions with a balanced 4-2-3-1. Now we sit third in the Premier League. The squad is finally healthy and refreshed after their time in Dublin, hopefully, because I've been watching videos and they look like they're doing really well. Warm weather training, light training, and all of those things is super interesting. For Leeds, they are resurgent. But after a shaky start to the season, Dominic Calvert-Lewin's tactical shift to a back 5 has saved their campaign. Recent wins against Chelsea and a hard-fought draw against Liverpool proved that they are no longer an easy out, basically. They are physical, direct, incredibly hard to break down, and it will take Man United being, pretty much an individual performance for us to be able to defeat Leeds, right? So that takes us to the tactical analysis of how Leeds play. Now, Farke has evolved. While he still loves possession, Leeds have recently adopted a direct 5-3-2 system, and they've basically moved away from the patient build-up to a style that prioritizes defensive solidity and verticality. Now, they use an extra centre-back to manage aerial threats and rely on aggressive man-oriented counter-press that the second they lose the ball, trying to get my words out, the second they lose the ball, they counter press to win it back. Now, when they attack, it's a fast and physical way that they attack, fast, physical, and aggressive. Long balls into channels to win second balls and bullying defenders. They've done that multiple times. I've seen most of their players do it a couple times and all of that. When we talk about them, I think there's a certain guy called Bogo on their team that does that as well. Very aggressive and everything in between. Now, with regards to their predicted starting 11, we're going to go with basically the team that played the last game, right? And we're going to go with Cardallo in net. And then you have Biol, who has an aerial defense. He's an aerial defensive threat. You have Cardallo, Biol, then you have Rodon, and then you have Pascal Struijk, who's playing on the left side of centre back in a 3-4-3 or 3-4-1-2 formation. And then you have Ethan Ampadu on the left side, Justin, Anton Starch, and Bogle. Ethan Ampadu would actually most likely switch to that middle, depending on where Justin is going to play. I think Justin's going to play on the left. And then you have Aronson, who's going to play as the attacking midfielder or the 10. And then you have Lucas Mecha and Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Sometimes against big teams, he plays either of the two. And I think Noah Okafor is also injured as well. So basically, we're just going to keep observing, but it is what it is what I expect. And then the key player for them would be DCL, Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's the focal point of the new look Leeds. He's a target man who allows their 5-3-2 to actually function when they play. They look like they're playing a 3-4-1-2 on paper, but one player, once they defend, you can see that 5-3-2 shape, right? And then obviously his ability to hold up the ball and link play with the midfield is very vital. And if United's centre backs can't win the initial header against him, then Leeds will swarm the second ball and trap us in our own half. And that is where it is super interesting to see what kind of lineup that Man United is going to put out and all of that. So yeah, DCL, he's the key player to watch for them. He's played 31 games with 2,195 minutes, scoring 11 goals and creating 1 assist for the 29-year-old. Basically scored in the last game against West Ham where they drew 2-2 and all of that. The game before that in England, he also played as well in the international break, and then played against Brentford, played the full 90 minutes and the full 90 minutes against Crystal Palace where they drew 0-0 as well. So the last game they played was in the FA Cup, right? So, and they played 2-2 against West Ham. I think they beat West Ham on penalties. So they got to the FA Cup semi-final and they faced Man City. So it is what it is. We'll see how that pans out. Then with regards to how Manchester United play, basically Michael Carrick has brought his positional freedom back to Old Trafford and he's set up a structured 4-2-3-1 on paper. And this formation morphs into a 3-2-5 when we have the ball. The key is the safe first pass. Like, we don't take silly risks in our own third, and we use the double pivot of Casemiro and Menu to screen the defense. And actually, in what we've seen, Casemiro has done more of that screening as well, being kind of like the box-to-box guy. While the front four is encouraged to actually be fluid and move around a bit. We aren't just a position team. We are also a lethal team on the break, averaging a direct speed of 1.83 meters per second every time we make an advance forward. Now, which takes me to the predicted starting lineup for the game against Leeds. And we start with Sandro Lomans in net. And then we go with Aiden Heaven and Lenny Yoro as Harry Maguire is suspended and Licha Martinez is just coming back from injury. And then we have Luke Shaw on the left side in a 4-2-3-1. And then we have Dalot as the right back. And then Casemiro and Menu in the two midfield pivots, and then you have Bruno Fernandes as the 10, and then Cunha on the left and Ahmad on the right. Dogu is back, but Dogu is not full match fit, so most likely going to be on the bench or not even going to make the starting lineup. And then you have Brand Boomer as the forward, and most likely Benjamin Sesko coming off the bench and all of that. Now, for key player for Manchester United, we're going to go with basically Mateusz Cunha, one of the key players. Mateusz Cunha, he has been very, instrumental in Man United's attack. He always creates chances. He always makes advances forward. He plays 76 minutes and 71 minutes respectively in the two games during the international break. He was involved in our 2-2 draw against Bournemouth. He played 82 minutes. He got the penalty that we scored in the first goal. And then he was involved by scoring a goal against Villa in our 3-1 win for the 26-year-old. He's played 30 matches with 56 minutes. That's 2,256 minutes with 7 goals and 2 assists. That's 9 goal contributions, no competition. So it's super interesting. Mateusz Cunha being very instrumental in Man United this season. And then another key player to watch is our magnifico Bruno Fernandes. Basically, he's the captain, he's back. Carrick has restored Bruno to his natural number 10 role, obviously, as people are expecting. And the numbers speak for themselves as well, even though the numbers are pretty much the same before the switch to now, and he's the creative hub. He's been the creative hub for the longest time, drifting into the right half space to link up with Ahmad and Bumo, and also against Leeds back five, Bruno's ability to find the impossible pass between the lines will be key to unlocking the gate. That will be super interesting to see how, you know, Bruno will turn up. He played the last 2 games. He created just like Cunha. Bruno created an assist in the last 2 games. Created assists in the last 2 games. He played for Portugal against Mexico and against USA. He did absolutely amazing. He scored a goal against Bournemouth, and then obviously was involved in the game against Aston Villa. He was involved. I think created an assist as well for Casemiro to score. So it was super interesting to see, you know, Bruno perform over the international break and over the last couple of games, and he's absolutely done amazingly well, and he's the creative hub for this team, right? So after all this long talk, how can Manchester United defeat Leeds United at Old Trafford? Now, to take all 3 points, especially in 5 days, I think United needs to follow the blueprint on Monday, 13th April. First and foremost, we need to do the blueprint as what I've been observing in the last couple of games as well, the fake offside trap. Now, Leeds wants to press high, and United should actually use Carrick's fake offside tactic, which we've observed the last couple of games, where we draw the Leeds backline forward before releasing Brian Bumo and Benjamin Sesko with rapid direct through balls and catch them in transition before, you know, the back five are set. Say, for example, Bumo is the one off and they feel like Bumo has been set off, and then you put Cunha through, and then basically once you put Cunha through running from deep, he creates an opportunity for Bumo, or he gets an opportunity for himself running at the defense if they push high. So it's going to be super interesting to see how, you know, United will capitalize on Leeds. Now, the next strategy to win Leeds is to isolate the right back or right-sided overload. Now, Ahmad and Mbumo's partnership is our biggest weapon, because sometimes Mbumo drops deep and Mbumo also sometimes shifts to the side. So it's our biggest weapon. So by sending Diogo Dalot on aggressive overlapping runs as the fly fullback, we can actually create a 3v2 overload with Leeds' left back. And this actually forces their central defenders out of position and creates gaps for Bruno to control things. And then also, another way to actually defeat Leeds is the disciplined 4-4-2 mid-block. Now, we should not get caught up in our physical slugfest with Leeds, because Leeds employ the same 4-4-2 mid-block. So we need to use the same 4-4-2 mid-block that, they employ a 5-3-2, but obviously you can see that it is somehow in a 4-4-2, depending on how you look at it and who pushes forward. So we need to employ the same 4-4-2 mid-block that we used to beat Manchester City. And we need to make the pitch narrow, suffocate the central lanes, and let Casemiro focus on sweeping up the second balls, dropped by Calvert-Lewin for the defenders when he tries to bring players into the game. And then also we can capitalize on set pieces as well to actually, defeat Leeds. Then number 4 strategy is to utilize the freshness. Basically, coming off a 24-day break, obviously some players were out off, on international duty, but the others that had the opportunity to not go, and then this 4 days warm weather training in Ireland, United should actually have the fitness edge, use high tempo pressing sequences early to tire out the Leeds midfield, and then if it's still level at 60 minutes, then the physical conditions gained in Dublin could actually help. Should actually help us or allow us to overpower them in the final third, right? So what do you guys think? With the starting lineup, with what I expect that Man United should do on the day and all of that. Now, the Roses Rivalry, just to wrap everything up, the Roses Rivalry is a match that is a perfect way to kick off the final sprint of the season. And Carrick has expressed how important this final kick is. Leeds are tougher, meaner, and more defensive than they've been than we've seen them in years. But United finally has the tactical maturity to match them. Now, can we actually utilize it and capitalize on them? If Carrick can actually keep the team composed and let Bruno pull the strings from the half spaces, then the Stretford end will be celebrating a massive win. All of us want to win against Leeds so that we can, keep that third place secure. I'm going to also predict a 3-1 victory for Man United if, all things go as planned. Mbumo on the score sheet, to redeem himself, and then obviously Šeško with a late header to steal the show. And then obviously we should expect Cunha to also be on the score sheet. Maybe Ahmad. Now, my final take from this is, or my final question is, what do you guys think? Does that 24-day break and the I think the 14-day break give us that freshness that we need, or will it be a bit too rusty for us in the first 15 minutes? What do you guys think? Because we seem to have started games really slowly. And who starts up top? Is it Mbumo or Šeško? I've said it's going to be Mbumo, but you guys let me know what you think. What's your predicted lineup? What's your predicted score line? And then we'll continue to analyze and basically, break things down as we go. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for liking, sharing, and subscribing. If you haven't already, please do like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't have to miss anything as it relates to all things Manchester United. I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Goodbye. And God bless.